Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we have a beautiful S3 here. It's in for suspension work and we're gonna also do a full service on it. Let me take you through it. Okay, we have a little play here. Let's see what that is. We have outer track rod end, inner tie rods along with the track rod end, so we're gonna change the whole lot. Makes it a lot easier to do the tracking afterwards. Spin. A little bit of grease escaping from this boot. It's a good idea to change this boot before water, mud and anything else can get in there. That is the solid bush right there. I can't say it's the worst ever, but it is worn. And also on the road test I felt that the car was veering to the right under hard braking. Bushes are at suspicion. Spring's not broken. This side is actually quite solid, but this bush here is a 2-spoke bush which is not fit for an S3. We're gonna go for the proper ones with the solid bushes. Brake lines are surprisingly good. These 8L A3s, they suffer from poor quality brake hoses. In this case, it's actually quite good, which is always a bonus. Front bush is gone as well. Still solid, but it looks horrible. This arm must go. No funny business around the diff. There is no uneven tire wear, which is nice. Tracking is more or less good. Cool, we have good bearings all around, that's nice. It is rusty, it is an Audi. I would say I'm surprised, but not really. German car is leaking oil. It does. Brake hose is good. There might be a problem with the steering rack. I can basically squeeze out the oil from the boot. Yep, there it comes. If customer was ever wondering where the power steering fluid went, that's where it went. Yeah, it's gonna need a steering rack overhaul. Oh no. I'm truly very sad when I see things like this. This is a refurbished steering rack, you know. The black paint is a giveaway. Somebody paid serious money for that, you know, and your job worth nothing because it's leaking. That's completely gone. Now it's tow in. And now it's tow out and it stays there. We could say that it has active adaptive suspension like all the time. If you look at the rust around here, that is an indication that it's going to be a fun job. Let's see this one. And that is the same. If you look up there, you can see how the bushing, the rubber, is actually came away from the inner tube. So that is not connected to the rubber anymore. The vulcanization came off. This is going to be a huge job. But it's alright because I like Audis. So we have the coolant that's dripping down from here. Above the power steering pump, next to the alternator, we have the thermostat. It could be just a coolant flange. Okay, let's make the notes, notify the customer, and see what they want.
Yeah, that's fine. Can we also have the rear bushes over the whole amp?
Bushes.
Oh, bushes, please, yeah.
We did tell the customer what the car needs. Until we have his reply, I'm going to crack on with the full service. Let's see how bad the leak is. Yeah, it is very bad. It is below minimum and it's been sitting for a few minutes. While the engine's running, the level is not correct. Yeah, level is not correct. That little thing in the middle that's supposed to be submerged. If you can see it sticking out, that means you need to top it up. But we also found out that the coolant is leaking, so that actually makes perfect sense. Let me just have a look at the coolant leak. So yeah, that's the thermostat right there that's leaking. Okay, crack on. Aftermarket high flow air filter, which is actually quite fresh-ish. These are cleanable. We're not going to throw this away. I'm not sure if the customer is aware that he has one of these, so I'm just going to fit the new filter, put this in his boot so he can have it back. He can replace it again if he wants to. The oil filter location on this particular model is not the best. Nothing we haven't seen before, so we're just gonna pop the metal bit of the boost pipe out. That will give us a lot more room. For this boost pipe, it should be secured by a bolt, just like on the other side. Now that bolt is missing, so the complete weight of the metal boost pipe and everything is resting on the intercooler and the intercooler hose. But if you ask me, that's not the best idea. If there is a chance, we're gonna fix that thread to keep everything up, because yeah. Also on these engines, it's very common, they have breathing issues. So the original factory fitted breathing system is not enough for this engine, especially if you remap it. You give it a bit more boost and you'll end up with an engine that's basically inflating from the inside out. Not good. Yeah, the turbo is going on the list as well. There we go. It's supposed to have 3 bolts on each side, you know, because as you can see, it acts as a brace, and all of this weight is just dangling and hanging on 1 bolt and 2 intercoolers. Oh man, what a knob. This surface right here, that's where the seal of the oil filter should work. But if you see that there, that's a massive score. Someone must have been a real dick doing that, and they just leave it like that. While we're waiting on customer response, I'm just gonna carry on with what I can do at the minute. So I'm gonna change the fuel filter and I'm gonna do the spark plugs. Hopefully by the time I'm finished with that, we have a reply from the customer to assess what else needs to be done on the car. A bit of back and forth action, and away we go. Good thing it's a non-smoking garage. New fuel filter. Always make sure that the arrow is pointing towards the engine. I'm pretty much stuck on the service side of the job, but in the meantime, I have everything for the front axle, so I'm gonna rebuild the front suspension. I know I just started, but there's gonna be loads of this. How it looks like before I clean it. That is the thing that we're attacking. Next, I'm going to take out the tie rod and the track rod. Yep, £9.80 from eBay. And you know what? You can show me all your fancy tools. Nothing's gonna beat this. Ah, no way! No way! I'm so lucky with this now. I'm gonna take off the caliper. Yeah, I really should have done this before I took the suspension off. Before I trigger anyone, I'm going to use more grips on the strut itself to get the nut off. So we're gonna change this, and that's the only thing going back. This is a very common thing on VW, Audi, Seat, all of them that has the same suspension from the same era. The pinch bolt for the strut, obviously because water and air and everything can get in, they just basically rot away the bolt, which will shrink in diameter and eventually it will snap or crack. So we're just gonna slap some new ones in. That is one job when you're using spring compressors like this. They have to be in a straight plane. If they're not, well, I guess you've seen the videos. Yeah, see? Completely straight and true. Goes to the center line of the spring. It is safe. You're gonna need dust boot and bump stop. New bush with new bearing. Always need to make sure that the spring ends where it's supposed to end. Just there. That holds the brake hose. The production of these pinch bolts have stopped in 2022. We had to find an alternative. These are also 12.9 in tensile strength. It's gonna do the same job and close to original as possible. Brand new nylocks. I'm a little bit old school. I've been taught I should use washers everywhere. Some people will disagree, but I think the best is to multiply the surface area every single time you are able to. That is one upright hub and strut assembly done. Okay. Obviously, we need to trim it down a little. That goes on first. Spring and the cone, which makes it stop. Good. Give it a test. That's not coming off. Nice, it's done. Yeah, this came out more or less alright, so I just want to give it a good scrub. Fresh grease, and back it goes. There we go. Yeah, you can work hard, or you can work smart. Right after I fitted this, I took it back out straight away because I noticed that it won't fit properly. If you can see, there is diameter difference on the end of the tapered pin, and also there is a recess under the thread. The tapered part wouldn't do the job, so it would wiggle. And also, you do up the nut stops here, and it's still not tight, so that would be a lousy job. We got the proper ones now. Make sure you check all your parts before fitment. Fresh grease. Yep, secured. In an ideal world, I would save the boot, but as you can see, that wouldn't be professional of me, so I'm not gonna do it. Parts guy's gonna hate me. We're gonna fit this one. It's universal. I just need to get the diameter right. It's gonna be much better than this. This system, it doesn't have this breather, so to stop it from water getting in, I'm just gonna pinch it like that. Will it come undone? What do you think? No way! There's just no way. Yeah, it doesn't need too much. That's done. No play whatsoever. Yep, that's good. On this side is going to be exactly the same, all the same components and everything. Let's crack on. We can only identify a problem when we come across it. As in, I just realized that we need to change this caliper. As you can see, that's not going nowhere. Look at the state of this. It's the same state like this, so maybe we need a brake line as well. Second assembly done. I'm just gonna chuck it back on the car. Still a few things to go. Come on, baby. We're gonna move on to the rear suspension now because the front is all done. Yeah, so here on the rear we're gonna do basically similar stuff. We're gonna do spring, we're gonna do shock, and we're gonna do the front bush. Wow, this thread is really well enclosed. Wow. This shock has iffy bushes, yeah, and also It's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to come back. See? This is how it's supposed to work. And when I try to compress it, I can, but it's like different. There is a difference. There's nothing particularly wrong with this, but customer wants it replaced. First things first, I need to disconnect the ABS. Right, here's the plug. Oh, that was a bit sticky. Let's give it some lube. All right, that's one handbrake cable out. Now we freed it off. So basically it's gonna sit on these two arms and the drive shaft. If I decide that it's too much stress on the drive shaft, I'm gonna put a tranny jack underneath. Okay, now this has been replaced before, sheer luck. Well, sadly, I'm gonna have to reflare it and reconnect it, so it is what it is. It's the same problem. The nut got seized onto the pipe, so I will need to make new flares and new unions. In the meantime, to seal it off, I'm gonna cut them. Now we can get the nuts out. Beautiful. When you have super rusty headed bolts, because obviously the thread is not rusty, but the head is, never use a multi spline. It's just gonna round it off and make your life so difficult you would not believe it. To crack it open, always use a hex. Okay, so here we have our culprit. Oh mate, this is beautiful. So once I got this cup off, then I can start attacking the bush itself. This aluminium tube should be vulcanized with the rubber, but apparently, as you can see, they are two different objects now. The aluminium, as it oxidizes, it foams up, creates this whitish powder, and it just seeps under everything. That's how these rubber bits can come loose. Basically, the way I'm doing it is a way of doing it. There will be people who will disagree. This is just my way of doing it. Trust me when I say it, it doesn't matter how you get it out, just get it out. Right, got the middle bit out. And there we go, no damage to the hole. Clean out the hole, so it's like more or less the original diameter. The rust is so severe, I can't take it off with a wire brush, so I have to use a chisel. Basically, chisel off the big bits. Yeah, I'm using silicone grease again because it's rubber. We're just gonna roughly offer it up for now. Look at that, just rushing in. It's a good workout for the shoulders. And there you have it, a rear trailing arm bush fitted. Just gonna pop this bad boy in. We are in, perfect. Now we're gonna do shock. Slightly thread it in, so I can still move it freely. We're gonna line these up. When you thread it in, just make sure you're not cross-threading it, because then that means you need to change the upright, which is the arm and everything else. See, I'm only using wrist movement. But if I feel that it wants to stop, I have to stop. Because this is a bush, that is a bush, and it has a bush up there. We need to lift up the suspension into neutral position and then tighten everything up so that the bush won't go out. Okay, that is tight. Before I do anything to the brake pipe, I'm gonna jam the brake locked. A certain amount of fluid which is in the line that will come out. But then because of the master cylinder's position, new fluid can't get in. It's not going to be drippy, it's not going to be in my way. So first I'm going to cut it. I don't want to lose too much length. So something like this. That's just... Yeah, there we go. Have this on the pipe, moving back and forth. Put this in, because that's going to give you the distance. As soon as it bottoms out, that's done. This will come out. We can see the mark on there that it has bottomed out, so it's good. So now we're gonna use this end to make the male union. We're just gonna put a little bit of punch grease on the tip. Not too much, only not to ruin the copper. Theoretically, this should need to bottom out to do the job, but we'll see. Yep, it stopped. I don't want to squash it no more. So this is what we ended up with. Yeah, whenever you're working on rigid brake pipes, you need to make sure that it's not touching literally anything else apart from its mount. Because if it's touching the chassis, it will start chafing. If it starts chafing, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose your brake. And it's going to happen on the road when you need it the most. And it's in. Obviously, at the end of the job, we're going to bleed it. But apart from that, this side is complete. So now we're just going to repeat exactly the same on the other side. The rear and the front suspension is done now. I've bled the brakes. Everything went fine and smooth. So now I'm just going to move back onto the engine and finish some minor bits. This oil cooler came from this car. Now, if you have a look, scored the surface where it meets with the O-ring of the oil filter. It was leaking, and it would have been leaking still if I just whacked the filter on it. We replaced it now, so it's not going to leak. But the boost pipe is going back on now. If you can remember, we lagged bolts. I'm just going to replace them with these. These are the same spec bolts. We're going to chuck the liquids in, start the engine, and I'm going to top it up with tap water just for now. It has a recent, rather fresh leak, so it didn't crystallize yet. I need to pressurize the system to figure out where it's leaking from. So we're going to apply some pressure. We're going to leave it for a few minutes, but I can actually see it's dropping rapidly. I think the leak is coming from the thermostat, or the thermostat housing, which is just underneath the manifold. So I'm just going to try to have a look. There is some coolant under there. We have wetness. It is the thermostat. So I wipe it. You can see the residue there. It's wet, finger is dry, goes in, a little touch around, feel it, and it comes out wet. It is proven, my friend, we need the thermostat and its housing, because usually they go together. We can definitely fix that. Okay, need a bit more. We're not gonna even start it because I don't want too much water to get mixed with the coolant, because it's an iron block. And that can get rusty. So the S3, it's in for a lot of work. So I've done the suspension and the servo. Still need to do the tracking, waiting for some cooling components like thermostat and bits. But in the meantime, my colleague Andrew is going to refurbish the headliner that you can see here. Very, very usual thing to VW products. Got to this one as well. So basically what happens to these, the glue that they use between the fabric and the roof liner, it's not good at all, because in a few years' time, as the sun shines on the roof, it gets hot, the adhesive becomes like malleable, and over time, as you go over the speed bumps and everything, this represents weight. Not too much, but just enough so that over the years, it comes away from the adhesive little by little. The worst is when you don't have a sunroof, because then the whole thing, it just bulges on top of your head and gives you a nice massage as you drive along. But not to worry, we are gonna fix it. It's gonna look like new again. If you come closer, you can see that it's coming off without, I'm not even trying. This is still a bit sticky to the touch, but it's not sticky enough so that the fabric can stick to it. This is how they all go out, all of them. So while Andrew is sorting out the headliner, I'm gonna sort out some leaks that I found on the car. First, I'm going to attempt to change the thermostat without taking the manifold off. I would love to do it that way, because that saves time. We'll see how it goes. There we go. I think I'm going to take out the upper part of the dipstick, just to give me more room. Yep, there is the pipe that we need to remove. We're just gonna take the rubber glove and put it on the pipe that's sticking out so that the water can't get in. Now it's basically like a condom. All I'm gonna do is disconnect the battery positive terminal, because I need to disconnect the power cable for the alternator. And if I move it away, it gives me enough room to reach the bottom bolt. Fingers crossed, it's gonna be a quick one. And if you're wondering why I took off the positive terminal of the battery, it is purely because if the battery is still connected, this positive cable touches the engine, any metal component in the engine bay or the chassis, it would arc out. That would mean I'm destroying ECU, body control. Basically everything that is like a computer and runs on electricity, that would be dead instantly. So yeah, stay on the safe side, disconnect the battery when you're messing about with alternators and starter motors. Okay, it's actually visible how that lime scale looking thing developed on the bottom. That there is the mark of the coolant leak. And we'll have our thermostat out. Obviously, thermostat gasket has given up over time. In cases like this, you need to understand how the gasket works. If I clean the back surface, which is facing towards me, that wouldn't help no one, because first goes the thermostat, that goes just like that, and that squishes it on. So how it works is the side that actually seals up, so I need to clean the inner circumference of the hole, and that is pretty much enough. New seal, new thermostat. Check if the thermostat has the same temperature value. Yep, 88 degrees Celsius and 88 degrees Celsius. That is the opening temperature of the thermostat. This is how it's going to look like when I'm trying to offer it up. It's gonna be fiddly because of that, but this isn't my first rodeo. Yeah, there's a fair bit of rust on the block. Made the gasket fail. I'm gonna scrape off with this as much as I can, and then I go in with a little bit of emery cloth. That is the cleanest I can get it in the given situation. I think it's pretty good. We have that little rind grid over there, and that is actually the bleeding hole. Because of gravity, you want to make it facing up, because obviously the fluid will sit lower, so the system can like more or less bleed until the thermostat opens. It's not going to cause any major airlock. I'm going to use a little trick. I'm going to put some silicone grease on this. I want to make it just sticky enough until I fit this. Just a tiny bit. Okay. Now that stays in. Happy days. So the thermostat has been successfully fitted. I'm just gonna put everything back together, and while the engine is warming up, I'm gonna do the alignment on it, just to save a little bit of time. The oil service, spark plugs, everything is done. So yeah, coolant, run it up, and in the meantime, we're gonna do tracking. Every single time you drain the cooling system on any vehicle, you need to turn the heater on, as in the highest possible temperature, so that the valve at the heater matrix is fully open, allows complete circulation, because the heater matrix is part of the system, so the airlock can occur in there as well. Even if it's in the heater matrix and the coolant can't circulate properly, you're gonna overheat your engine. Yep, the level is okay. S3 8L, Quattro, of course. I need to be very careful because these clamps, although they are not sharp, but they are made of metal, and they can take off the paint of the rim, which I do not want. As old as they are, these rims, they look actually pristine. Temperature gauge is close to 90 degrees, which is the operating temperature. And if you come here, you can see that there is a slight steam. It's just indication that the thermostat is about to open. So without building up unnecessary pressure in the system, now is the safe time to put the cap on. Because we're doing the factory geometry, we're gonna need to use the factory appointed pressures. This row here is a 2.1 on the front and 2.1 on the back. Yep, all four is there. Okay. Right, now I need to steer the car. That is center, yes. Okay, 10 degrees that way. We need to do this slowly to allow the machine to pick up the signals. Let's put the steering wheel straight. That is actually the rear axle we see here. Now these ones, I'm fairly certain I can help that. Front. Oh, the front is well bad. So the fan turned on, thermostat open, there's hot air in the cabin, the cooling system is done. We can now stop the engine, let the pressure drop. We're gonna open the cap, leave it for a few minutes, maybe it drops a bit more. We wanna give it back to the customer so that the level is closest to the true level as possible. Because we don't have the conventional adjuster bolts anywhere on the arms, there is only one place where I can adjust it, and that is by the 4 bolts for this bushing. We're gonna crack them open ever so slightly, start adjusting it, check the screen. If the toe goes where it's supposed to be, we're happy. If not, we need to come up with something. Because, yeah, there is just no conventional adjusting option on this. Let me get some help. 84, that means we're moving. So the rear wheels are towing in. That means eventually it's going to eat the outside edge of the tire. I don't like it. I was a bit worried that I don't know what I'm doing, so I asked for a second opinion. One of my beloved colleagues said that Audi didn't make the rear suspension adjustable. So yeah, we're just gonna do this. I mean, that side was massively out. Now the two sides are pretty much the same. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Do the front. If it drives straight, then we're good. If it doesn't, then we're gonna do it again. Okay, so we have that there. Let's do it. Cool. So when you're doing tracking, you want to lubricate the steering rack gaiter because it sticks to the inner tie rod, and when you're twisting the inner tie rod, you're twisting the boot, and when you twist the boot, it's gonna split and it's gonna fail the MOT. So don't do it. Just a bit of WD. See? The gaiter is not twisting, which will result in a happy customer. And I passed MOT. There we go. Cool. So that's it. Now I'm going to put a cable tie on the gaiter because I left it off on purpose so that I can do the tracking. What we're going to do is exactly the same on the other side until the toe goes in the middle. Now we're going to do a road test. Okay. And now it's adjustable camber. I know the camber is adjustable and I also need to adjust the camber, so I came up with this idea. Might not be the best, but if it gets the job done, I'm well happy. So one's gonna be there, the other one, let's try it there. Okay, nice. So it shows me that in the innermost position it's still not correct, but the toe is well out now, so I'm going to redo the toe and hope that the camber will sort itself out. No way! I mean, I didn't want to get my hopes up, but it's going better than I expected. Brilliant! I am actually quite pleased with this. Caster, don't worry about caster, it's non-adjustable. Camber, I'm happy with the camber. They are in the green. The toe is smack bang on, so I'm happy with... What the fuck happened with that? Adjusting the suspension is more art than science, so... There is science to it, but actually doing it is a bit artistic. It's all done. Let's road test it. So it drives perfectly well. It's straight and true. So I'm happy with this. There are some minor bits that we need still doing. Andrew is just finishing up the headliner. Here is the final result. Stay tuned for part 2.